Hi, welcome to Coffee with the Bishop. My name is Daniel Richards. I am the 9th Bishop of the Diocese of Upper South Carolina, and today we are having an espresso pulled from a single origin harar from Ethiopia. And I hope your cup of coffee is that good today. And I'm joined here today by Sister Ellen Francis of the Order of St. Helena, and she's going to introduce herself in just a second. And I also have with us Jessica, the super communicator.
Oh, that's me.
And so we're glad that you're with us today. We're going to have a conversation, really getting to know the Order of St. Helena and Sister Ellen Francis and their work. But we just want to say first off the bat, we are glad that you're with us. And as we come, we just offer this moment as a moment to get to see how one of the children of God lives into the light of the kingdom. And I think, if I remember correctly, this is 25 years of ordained ministry and of life as a sister.
Right. I discerned both vocations at the same time, and I don't recommend that for anybody. One vocation at a time is a lot. But it happened for me that both came together at the same time. So the same year that I graduated from seminary and was ordained to the priesthood, I also entered religious life.
Wow. Well, where did you go to seminary?
General Theological Seminary.
What is the vocation of the Order of St. Helena? Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to say, oh, well, we're all nurses, or this is what we do, that every sister in the community does the same thing. So sisters do choose their own ministries. And we discern together. Of course, you don't just go off and do it. We discern together whether this ministry will really work with our life, because we have what we call the mixed life. We do the 4 daily offices and Eucharist. And so we have our life of prayer and our life of community, but we also go outside and do ministries at the same time.
So when you talk about the four offices,
Mm-hmm.
As an Episcopal community, they do morning prayer, noonday prayer, the evening office, evening prayer, and then compline.
Right.
And you have a particular form of the liturgy that you guys have worked on over the years.
Right. So about maybe 25 or 30 years ago, we started to really fill that for a women's community. We wanted to have inclusive, expansive language. We used the Book of Common Prayer Psalter, and our principle was that we would not change anything because the Book of Common Prayer Psalter is so beautiful, and the language works so well with chant. It just really flows with the Gregorian chant. But we made just the changes that we needed to make so that God would not have gender. It would not be God, he did this, he did that, but so-and-so God, who did this, who did that. There are various ways of just altering the language a little bit so that there isn't the constant, sense of gender of God. And it's inclusive so that we don't have male language for the people. So the watchmen became sentries, and various ways of doing that so that the language would be inclusive. And then we also did the same work on our breviary, which is the prayer book we use for our matins, our noonday office, vespers, and compline.
She's using the technical language for the same offices. And I will admit that I have been a fan of the Order of St. Helena because of their Psalter and breviary for years, more than a couple of decades. And the beauty of the way that you did the language is that so often when we go into simply choosing to gender God as a woman, it forces this sort of feeling of either or.
Right.
And what the language of the way that they did the Psalter and the breviary, that really is, I really think it's brilliant, is that it, if you have a traditional male Jerry Garcia sort of God image, you can read the Psalter and you're going to be okay. It's not gonna just throw you way off. And I think but at the same time, that I love expansive language for God, using the full range of biblical imagery that's there, stays there, and is opened up.
Right.
And inclusive in the sense of being gender inclusive in places where often our language particularly excludes women. But it does such a lovely job of being a prayable psalter and a prayable breviary, and not as disruptive, I think, as sometimes the attempts to do inclusive and expansive language can be for many people reading. And I've given away dozens and dozens, both of the copies of the Psalter and the breviary over the years. And so I've been deeply grateful for the ministry of the sisters for a long time.
It was a work of a number of years because we would do some of the work in committee and then get into the chapel and find, oops, that doesn't work. So we would pray it for a year and then make all the changes and print all the copies again and pray it over again for another year. And we did that several times. And now it's been 20 years since we published the original breviary, so now I'm doing a revision. And it's the first volume is out, is just Compline, but I'm working on the ordinary of the office. So that I hope will be out within a year or so. I'd also like to make a plug for anybody who wants to just get a little sense of this. We have an app.
Yes.
And it's available on Google Play and the App Store. And it's the OSH, Order of St. Helena, Daily Office. And it's free. So you can download that and pray the office or pray any parts of the office.
For our listeners, we will link that in the description for this episode of the podcast, so you can just click it, get it, and start praying.
So one of our questions from the question sheet was, when you're traveling, do you pray the hours? And the app gives you one way to do that.
That means I have no excuse.
That the word office means obligation. And I think for many people, we experience the word office because of where we work. But the origin of the word for the Western world was really in the office of the monastic communities, going back to the Desert Fathers and Mothers, when the regular hours of prayer become the obligation, and eventually became the obligation of priests and deacons and bishops as well, but originated in monastic life. And one of sort of the keys to that is the Psalter becomes such a regular part of your prayer life. And how has that experience been for you over 2.5 decades?
Right. If you start a verse, I can probably keep going because we pray the whole Psalter every 2 weeks. So it just becomes like breathing. And some days I'm really into exactly what it's saying. It's just talking to me. And other days I just sort of let it, like waves, it just washes over me. But it's there's nothing like it because it has the whole range of human emotion is there.
Yeah. For 20 years, I've been going to monastic communities for my retreats, and one of the and doing off and on the Benedictine daily office, keeping the more extended hours at times, but keeping the hours of the Book of Common Prayer as the obligation of ministry. That pattern of praying and living into the Psalms, of just it becoming this sort of almost like the heartbeat of your spiritual life is so powerful. And yet, as a non-monastic person, one of my sort of funny experiences is I've been leading worship for all these years, and I would go to the monastic community and I would sit down, and then there would be this long pause, and immediately my ego would jump in, and I would start thinking, well, I wonder if do I need to help? Is there something I can do? Maybe the organ's not working. I could go see if it's and I do. I've done this so many times, and it just every time I go in, I have to remind myself, this is a community that has been praying in this way for 1,700 years. And they will be praying in this way until the trumpet sounds and our Lord steps off the clouds. Just relax. Let them be them, and you get to just join in that ongoing breathing of the life of the church and its prayers. And it humors me every time. And so being with the sisters, one of the great gifts, and I'll have her talk about the community and the sort of location of where they are in a minute. But going in, they have this beautiful space, and I'm getting the tour, and I get to hear about how the space was created and designed, and sitting down to pray. It's such a small community, and yet the peace of the community, the sort of wholeness and wisdom of the community in prayer, it's okay. And I think that deep rhythm and long practice of prayer builds in this sort of abiding knowledge of the peace that passes understanding. And I think that one of the gifts of the monastic office is when you're with the community that prays it every day, is that peace that passes understanding gets given a real tangible sense, a presence in the room.
I think sometimes our guests are more aware of that than we are. They'll come up the driveway and say, "Oh, I could just feel the peacefulness." And of course, living in community is not always peaceful. So we ourselves may feel, there's this or that is going on in the community. And yet when we get to the chapel, we can sink right into that prayerful space. And we have practiced praying, the same people praying together for so long. We know how long to pause. We know, what's going to take more time. We just fall into the rhythm of it. Yeah.
I had a member of an orchestra tell me once that a really great orchestra breathes together.
Yeah.
And it feels like that when the sisters are in prayer.
Yeah, and the chant, we're vibrating together, literally.
Yes. And I will say the other funny thing to go along with that is because I've done retreats primarily at monastic and Cistercian communities, the meals are all taken in silence. Your meals are not silent.
Not silent. We used to have more silence than we do now. We used to have, silent. Well, we do observe pretty much the. Pretty much we observe the great silence. So after Compline until after Eucharist in the morning, we do have silence. But we used to be silent through breakfast until after breakfast. We have one silent day a week, which is usually Wednesdays, and but we don't have as much silence.
I will say one of the great joys of being a visitor is going in and sort of you have to get directions for where to pick up your utensils and this wonderful food. I mean, the food is just fantastic. But even more than that, it is a delightful community of sisters. And, you all have your own personalities, and I'm sure that you have to live with each other, which has its bumps and rubs. But it also has this this quality of introducing yourself and sort of laughing at each other and joyfully sort of calling out the best in each other and asking lots of questions. It is a family.
Yeah.
In the fullness of the good and the bad, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How is that living in community?
Well, I think the vow is at the core of our life together. And of course, it starts with the baptismal covenant. And then we take monastic vows as well. In my community, it's poverty, chastity, and obedience. And the traditional Benedictine vow is stability, obedience, and conversion of life. But it's expressed a little differently, but I think it pretty much means the same thing. But the stability that is articulated specifically in the Benedictine vow means that we're here, we're staying here, and we commit to each other in this place. And that forms kind of parameters or a safety net around us that we've committed to each other. And so whatever happens through thick and thin, we work it out one way or another. And that's how we learn to see Christ in each other and how we grow. One of the descriptions that a sister used to give was like a rock tumbler, that we all get tumbled together, but we do get smooth edges that way.
You
Yeah.
smooth edges off of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I entered religious life, I expected to grow spiritually. I didn't expect to grow psychologically as well. And, through hard work, it's not an easy life. To get the best, the harder we work at it, the more benefit we get from it.
Right.
How many sisters are there?
There are 9 of us now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Over the years, the community has grown and shrunk.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I think is startling for many people is that vocations have, in many places, been reduced,
Yeah.
and yet the community remains. And I think one of my questions about the vocation of the community is, where is the order's heart in the Episcopal Church? What does the Order of St. Helena do for us? Because I think I know that intuitively, but how would you articulate that?
How would, and you may see it differently than I do, and I think if you asked all 9 of us, each of us might give a little different answer. But I see it in the context of monastic wisdom as a whole, the history of monastic life, the practices, the traditions that are handed down through the history of monastic life. And I think that's what we all of our religious orders in the Episcopal Church contribute to that. And if one order, dies out and another one is founded, in a way it doesn't matter because every organization has a life cycle.
Yeah.
So maybe we will continue and maybe we won't. But we have contributed to that whole bigger picture of the religious life, which is a gift to the church.
Personally, I would say that religious life does a couple of things. One is it is this heartbeat of prayer. I mean, I referenced that earlier with the Psalter, but I really feel like the spiritual life of the church writ large, capital C Church, is sort of continued in this background of just constant prayer of the community. And for me, doing ministry, knowing that in a very different form, but also in a vowed religious life, that the daughters of the King in Episcopal churches are praying for me, or praying for the diocese, praying for the priests and deacons of the church. And for the Order of St. Helena and for some of our other communities, the brothers up in Three Rivers, a big part of my own spiritual life, that prayer heartbeat, that not just in the particulars of like the daughters list for us, but knowing that we're being prayed for as a church, that the heart of the church is being called back to the gospel. And that always isn't as comforting as it sounds right now. Because sometimes it means that we get called back to reconsider old ideas that we thought were settled, and sometimes it means that we are called to love people who are irritating, and it's not just that. It's not just, like you said, it's not just growing spiritually in the sense of like I'm going to become nicer and nicer and holier, but that growth in psychological terms and growth in our understanding of the call of the gospel and our ability to be kind when it's difficult and to support each other when we're not kind, and to continue to be there for each other in that stabilio, the stability, is a real gift, I think, to the whole church. And a reminder that for all of our vocations, we come to live in the reign of Christ and to represent Christ to the world. And the ways that we live those vows in our baptismal covenant and our monastic vows, help reveal to the world the fidelity of Christ, the stability of the gospel, and the vocation of hospitality that we all have, and the poverty that's necessary for us to do that, not clinging to things, but open-handedly embracing the stranger.
So in an effort to make it more apparent to the church that we exist and what we do, a few years ago, we promoted we put forward at General Convention a resolution to establish Religious Life Sunday, which is the third Sunday of Epiphany, so it's coming up very soon. And in the process of doing this, I put together a little committee to work with me to define exactly what we do offer to the church. And on our website, religiouslifesunday.net, we have a list of, these are the things that we provide to the church, and then we have resources, hopefully, to help people celebrate Religious Life Sunday in their parishes.
And I would just encourage folks out there, when you get the opportunity to read about the different religious communities that we have. The Episcopal Church, it's often not as visible as it is in the Roman Catholic tradition, but we have a long and vibrant tradition of religious life and ordered life. And we do have a couple of lay orders, the Brotherhood of St. Andrew, the Daughters of the King, but we also have many, many smaller and larger religious communities that exist across the country. And the brothers of from St. Gregory and Three Rivers are ones that are near and dear to me, Benedictines. But we have, I forget the number, I just looked it up a couple of weeks ago when the article came out, but there's dozens and dozens of communities around the Episcopal Church, some quirky and strange and just like a lot of us, and some deeply traditional and instantly recognizable as in continuity with the traditions that stretch back to the deserts in Egypt.
Right. Yeah, so communities like the Order of St. Helena, we're monastic, we live together. A vow of poverty means literal poverty, that after our period of formation and when we take our life vows, we literally give away all of our possessions. But there are also communities that are, in the canons, they're called Christian communities, who vow a religious life and take, they do take life vows and they have formation, but they don't live together. They have their own jobs and families, and so they interpret the vows a little differently.
Right. As we go into this year, in the bishop reads this year, we're starting the year with the Gospel of John, but our second read during the period that will fall right around Lent and Easter is the Rule of St. Benedict. And I really commend Joan Chittister's guide, Reflections on the Rule of St. Benedict, that will be linked in the show notes. And the Order of St. Helena is related to the Rule of St. Benedict, but is sort of a downstream interpretation.
Right.
Is that fair?
Right, that's fair. We were founded under the guidance of the Order of the Holy Cross, the men's community in West Park and other locations, and they are Benedictine. So they have taken the Rule of Benedict as well as their own rule, and they live a more monastic life than ours, although they do outside ministry. Hospitality is their main ministry, whereas we have the mixed life of outside ministry, hospitality, life of prayer. So we're balancing all of those things, like everybody tries to balance it.
One is I've come into this role of being bishop here. The order was coming out of, well, like many of our congregations, was coming out of COVID still. And just recently you've opened back up for weekend retreats.
Yeah, we opened in November. And on our website, osh.org, we have a listing of the weekends that will be open this spring. And we welcome anybody who would like to come. They are silent retreat weekends. There's no program. And we're open from Friday afternoon till Sunday afternoon.
Can you come in a group, or does it have to be
You can
single?
sign if there are enough spaces. If you let us know, probably good to, if it's a group, good to call
Okay.
and make sure that there's space for everybody. We have 8 guest rooms.
Okay.
But the campus is green rolling hills and beautiful North Augusta. Would you call it North Augusta?
Yeah, it's North Augusta. Yeah.
It's a it's a beautiful campus, and you know, it is almost cliche to say it's serene, but it is serene.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine that if someone were giving you the audio tour, they would sound a lot like the announcer for the Masters that is played nearby. As we come to sort of wrap this up, I just wanted to give you the chance to ask a couple of questions that we have from our studio audience.
That's right. Well, here's a question. What sort of collaborations are the sisters interested in, and how can our congregations support you, support your ministry, and integrate you into their lives and in the life of our diocese?
Excellent question. First of all, you can come for a retreat. You can also call us and see if you want to bring a vestry retreat or a group to come for a day visit. We can talk about that. And you can invite us to come to your congregation to talk about religious life or anything else. And there are also several of us who do Sunday supply.
And
What-
thank goodness, as part of the diocesan leadership that needs desperately to have folks doing Sunday supply.
This is we're going to ask a heavy question, and then we'll ask a lighter question.
Okay.
So the heavy question is, what would you say to someone who's discerning a monastic life?
I don't think we have enough time today to answer
That's
all
fair.
of that question, but I think and I've been receiving these requests for a very long time, and I think what I look for is someone who is really serious about living in community, because there are many ways of giving your life to God. Because often I'll get an email, I want to give my life to God, and this is the ministry I want to do. Well, it really starts with time in community, living together, working out, how can you really thrive in the community life and with the schedule of prayer. So from one community to another, some are more, what can I say? They're more the day is more structured than others. In my community, there is less structure than there is in some other communities. And I think would be looking for someone who really, is a self-starter, because this is not a life that you can come to and just be taken care of. It's a life that one has to participate in the life of the community, in the work of the community, and in one's own spiritual growth.
It's not a passive life.
No.
No, I imagine you work pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speaking of working hard and also living there, what's something that our listeners might find surprising about monastic
Okay,
life?
Well, so we have a pantry which has, the potatoes and onions and canned goods and all that kind of stuff. And during the pandemic, we were doing little things for each other to kind of, so we'd wear party hats, or we'd declare a feast day that means dessert. So we, even on a feria. So during the pandemic, a cookie jar appeared in the pantry.
Tell me
My
it's still
goodness,
there.
you
Tell
shouldn't,
me.
you
Tell
know.
me it's still there.
Well, now take away that cookie jar, and oh boy, that would be, that just won't fly. So
Do you guys rotate making the cookies?
we're usually donated. They're donated mostly.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. What's your favorite?
Oh, I like chocolate, dark chocolate.
Well, because you're smart. Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so describe your habit for people.
Okay.
What do you wear?
Okay, the habit is, it's sort of, actually somebody made their habit from a ball gown pattern. No, it's just basically a long white dress with big floppy sleeves, but we also have a scapular, which is really an apron, which is it has a front piece and a back piece. And then we have a black cincture, crochet black cincture.
What's a cincture?
The rope that goes around
The rope
their
that
waist.
goes around the waist.
Gotcha.
You know, usually servers wear it, and priests wear a white cincture, and ours is black. Our cross is a black ebony cross.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, and if our listeners want to see an example, you can visit their website because you're all wearing them on the website.
We have them on the website.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Do you wear them all the time?
No, we don't wear them. We used to. We used to wear them all the time with the veil many years ago, but first the veil came off, and then we started wearing the habit less often, and now we wear it when it's appropriate to ministry, and when it's not something for ministry or we're doing something else, then we don't wear the habit. So,
They dress in street clothes,
yeah,
incognito.
right.
Dress for your
monastic
day.
community.
That's right. Dress for your day.
Yeah.
I like that.
Is there anything that you want our audience to know about the monastic life
Life.
before we wrap it up?
We're real people. We're not anything special. We're real people who are trying really, really hard to love each other and to love God. And we would be delighted to be invited to meet you and talk to your people.
Okay, she said that, but I'm going to disagree with her a little bit. They are special. Having sat around with them on a few occasions and done more than a little bit of prayer together. And what I would tell you about the sisters, and I would say this about other monastic communities I've been in, is the intentional life of living in community. It does knock some of the corners off, and there is a simplicity and then a blossoming. Kindness is not quite the right word. It's like a centeredness in the kindness of God. It doesn't mean that there aren't bad moods and occasional sharp elbows at the table, but this centeredness in the kindness of God that begins to overflow, and particularly as a guest in the home, you feel that gentle welcome, that space created in the sort of recognition of the kindness and the gentleness of God. That is one of the great gifts of the monastic community. At least it has been to this bishop in our diocese. And I am deeply grateful for your ministry among us.
I'm so grateful for your support of us.
It has been a great joy.
At the George Alexander Diocesan House in Columbia, South Carolina. It is produced by the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina and edited by Jessica St. Clair Smith. Do you want to hear discussion about a particular topic? Have a question for our bishop? Do you and your study group have a disagreement about a matter of theology that needs settling? Send it to us at communications@edusc.org. Join us again next episode for a one-on-one meditation with the bishop on the Gospel of John, the first book in our 2026 year of study, The Bishop Reads.